It's Friday, May 21st, and this is now on HNN.
So claimants do have to report.
If you're collecting unemployment, listen up. The state will once again require claimants to show proof they're looking for work. Some businesses on Kauai are offering incentives to get vaccinated. Organizers of the Tokyo Olympics are scrambling to calm fears as the city remains under a state of emergency due to COVID.
He leads by example. He leads with his heart.
Plus, a 94-year-old Army veteran receives the nation's highest military honor. These stories and more coming up on This Is Now.
Welcome to This Is Now, and happy Aloha Friday to you, Ash, and to everybody watching, wherever you are. We've got a lot to get to today. Most urgent, though, those new coronavirus numbers, right?
That's right. The State Health Department is reporting 61 new cases today and 2 new fatalities. Kauai County is independently reporting 1 new case. We'll have the breakdown by island for you on your HNN digital platforms. Meanwhile, more than 100,000 Hawaii residents on unemployment will soon have to show proof they're looking for work. The state's unemployment rate is above the national average at 8.5%. And as Mahealani Richardson reports, some companies say workers are refusing to come back.
The Hawaii Restaurant Association says it welcomes any move by the state to incentivize people to come back to work. But those on unemployment say the restaurant capacity limits are limiting how much money they can make.
As the economy starts to fire up, restaurants have lots of openings but trouble finding workers.
Staffing is just getting people to come in and, do an interview.
I will be reinstating the requirement to search for work beginning Sunday, May 30th.
When unemployment surged during the beginning of the pandemic, the state relaxed its rules. Now the reimposed requirement means those fully out of work and on unemployment must show the state they made 3 job search contacts each week.
On Sunday, June 6, claimants will then report their weekly filings with their work search information.
Union workers and gig workers don't have to do the extra filing, and the state says lack of childcare is not an excuse to not look for work.
We estimate that approximately 106,000 claimants will be needing to look for work.
We're looking for all of the positions.
The Hawaii Restaurant Association says despite the openings, no-shows at interviews are a problem.
Yes, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. You know where to park. Okay, great. We'll see you tomorrow. They don't show up.
No, I think it's a good first step.
One unemployed restaurant worker says he welcomes the accountability, but believes restaurant capacity limits and low pay are keeping people at home.
If you can make what you made on unemployment and you're going to make not enough to pay your bills, that doesn't make any sense to go back to work.
But the state says it'll randomly investigate.
So claimants do have to report, and we do follow up on a random basis, but employers also have the opportunity to report refusal of work.
The unemployed can still get a $300 per week federal supplement, which the restaurant industry says is holding some people back. Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
And there's a new problem with Hawaii's unemployment call center. That has nothing to do with wait times. The third-floor phone bank at the Hawaii Convention Center is infested with bed bugs. Exterminators are at work, and operations are now suspended until Monday. For an update on what's happening with the garden aisle right now, let's check in with Lacey Denise.
Kauai is on the brink of fewer restrictions. The island could return to Tier 4 as soon as Monday. That's what a county spokesperson told the Garden Island. Just a couple weeks ago, Kauai slipped into Tier 3 after an abrupt spike in cases. But now there are just 11 active cases with 0 hospitalizations.
Earlier this month, our island experienced a surge in cases that we hadn't seen before. It affected our residents and many of our children. Thankfully, our community worked together to take quick action to gain control of the outbreak. If we can keep this momentum, we'll be on track to move back to Tier 4 by early next week.
Mayor Kawakami also says he is working with the state to look beyond Tier 4 and to alter the tier system based on vaccinations. He says that would allow bigger gatherings and more capacity at local businesses. For This Is Now, I'm Lacey Denise.
Kauai County is announcing pop-up vaccine clinics for adults 18 and older. The 2-dose Moderna and the 1-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccines will be offered at Hanalei Elementary School on May 30th from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. On June 5th, shots will be available at the Kekaha Neighborhood Center from 8 to 11 a.m. and at the Anahola Clubhouse from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And on June 12th at the Laukona Park in Hanamaulu from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Some businesses are even offering incentives. Rob's Good Times Grill in Lihue is holding a drive-through vaccine clinic next Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m. The first 50 adults who register will get a $10 gift card. And Troy's Place, also in Lihue, will host a clinic on June 5th from 2 to 4 p.m. Adults 21 and over will get 5 free karaoke songs. You must register by calling 808-938-0938.
The Hawaii Republican Party is under new leadership after the former chairperson Shirlene Ostreff stepped down. Our Steve Uehara sat down with Signe Godfrey, the new head of the party, to get her take on everything from vaccinations to the 2020 election results.
Your priorities, first off.
Yes.
What are they at this point?
Well, my priority, one of the goals that we have is, when I was in business, I used to work with a lot of companies and a lot of nonprofits. And one of the things that I saw was companies that trained their employees were more successful than those who didn't. A lot of companies, because of being lean and they not having enough money, they used to hire people and just put them in the jobs and just expect them to learn the job as they're on job. So I saw that training is extremely important to anyone's success. So one of our goals is to train our people how to run their precincts, their districts, in a more successful way by bringing more people in. We'll train them how to do that. We'll train candidates that come in and want to run for office. We'll help them teach them how to run their campaigns. And because of our new leadership, our first vice chair is Lynn Finnegan, and she was a successful legislator. She won 4 campaigns, and so she knows what makes a campaign win. So we're going to train our people, help them, really do a good job.
Yeah.
Once you're trained, you tend to do better.
So Signe, we just want to see where you stand on some of these issues, and we want to start with the election. Do you believe that President Biden won the election outright, or do you believe that it was stolen from President Trump?
Well, let me answer it this way. You know that Arizona is now having a forensic audit of their votes. And so there are a lot of questions that were posed, and that's why they started the audit. Other states are having the same issue. So there are a lot of questions, and we would like to find out what happened.
So it does seem, if I'm hearing you correctly, it does seem that you believe that Joe Biden did not win the election.
I have questions in myself, yes.
Okay. What about the vaccination process? Do you support the vaccination process?
Well, we're all Americans, and we have freedom of choice. So I believe that we can make a decision on our own for our own selves. So I believe in vaccinations because I take flu vaccinations. I'm not sure about this vaccination for myself, and that's my choice. So others can make their decisions, and that's their choice.
Okay. I want to get back to the election, and this is something that needs to be brought up. I mean, it's one thing for you to hold this opinion on your own, and you were entitled to that. As
Yes.
the head of a party, it holds a little bit more weight, and it's very much different. Is this an idea? Is this something that you are going to be pushing within the party here in Hawaii?
About vaccinations?
No, about the presidency. And your questions.
You mean the election,
Yes,
the voting?
election. Yes.
Well, I feel that all of us have that same question about the election. for the most part, I think some people have accepted it. I mean, I shouldn't say it that way. We all accept it. It's just we still have questions. And I can't really speak for all of our members, but the majority of us feel that way.
A fragile ceasefire is holding in the Middle East, but it isn't the only international test for President Biden today. Scott McFarland reports.
In the first day since the Mideast ceasefire agreement, some clashing, rock throwing, and tear gas, but overall the peace held up. A fragile deal to end fighting, which has killed hundreds.
We have strong assurances from the relevant parties that they are committed to the ceasefire. And obviously this is something we will be watching extremely closely in the coming days.
A senior White House official tells NBC News the administration is optimistic the peace will hold, but acknowledges it's delicate. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked President Biden for unreserved support before again defending this week's military actions, but says they'll respond with a new level of force against any new aggressions. Meanwhile, at the White House, President Biden welcomed the president of South Korea as they face a different diplomatic struggle a world away, the continued nuclear threat of North Korea.
Having you here today is an important recognition of all that our nation has achieved together.
The Biden administration has said it's trying a different approach from former President Trump's personal efforts to woo North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. One top official today said no love letters. The administration begins this weekend not just juggling these diplomatic efforts, but trying to refocus on the concerns at home, like rising gas prices and keeping COVID-19 cases from rising again. Scott McFarland, NBC News, Washington.
The Tokyo Olympics will go ahead on July 23rd, even if the city is under a state of emergency due to COVID. With just 9 weeks until the games get underway, the International Olympic Committee is trying to calm fears in Japan that the event would present a burden to a medical system already under strain from the pandemic.
Well, we've just successfully seen 5 sports hold their test events during the state of emergency. All of the plans that we have in place to protect the safety and security of the athletes and the people of Japan are based around the worst possible circumstances, and so the answer is absolutely yes.
The games face mounting opposition from the public. A survey released today shows nearly 70% of respondents want a cancellation or further postponement. California health officials say the state no longer will require social distancing and will allow full capacity for businesses when the state reopens on June 15th. They say dramatically lower virus cases and increasing vaccinations means it's safe for the state to remove nearly all restrictions next month. California was the first state to issue a statewide shutdown as the virus emerged in March 2020. And at the start of 2021, it was the nation's epicenter. Nearly 63,000 people have died from COVID in California, the most in any state in the nation.
A special celebration for high school seniors is back on after a petition was sent to Maui's mayor. Our Chelsea Davis reports from Maui.
Driving up to Lahaina Luna High School, congratulations posters are plastered all along fences honoring the class of 2021.
I graduate on Sunday.
Lahaina Luna High School senior, 17-year-old Kulia Phillips, is grateful to have an in-person ceremony on Sunday, but says this year has been tough.
When Corona hit, it was really devastating for our class. We had high hopes for this year, and we didn't get much. I mean, we didn't have a makeup prom, we didn't have a senior ball.
And this week, it looked like another disappointment was ahead. The Parent-Teacher Student Association had arranged for dinner for the grads and a performance by Mo'oli and Josh Totofi. School administrators had approved, but then the day before yesterday, the food and entertainment were suddenly canceled.
Although we had originally planned to have that kind of music and food, it went through a review process, as I could say, and always factoring in the safety of our students and our community. It possibly was revised a bit.
There was a complaint that was made, and the concern was thought to have been impactful, so it was some of our activities were being canceled on Tuesday, which was like the week of our event.
After a letter to the mayor and a petition late this afternoon, the mayor approved the plan and the party is back on.
I love that our students are able to use their voice and apply it, and hopefully when they graduate and continue on in society, that they continue to allow their voices to be heard.
Reporting from Maui, Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Several Rainbow Warrior volleyball players will soon be competing against one another. Taylor Averill, Stein Van Tilburg, and Rado Parapunov are heading to the Volleyball Nations League tournament in Italy. Averill will represent Team USA, Van Tilburg will compete for the Netherlands, while Parapunov will compete for his native Bulgaria. The tournament starts next week Friday. Very cool, and an absolutely stunning Aloha Friday. Taking a look over East Honolulu and Diamond Head there. And what about this, Ash?
Oh yes, beautiful Kauai. This is Honolulu Bay. So much sunshine over there on the Garden Isle. Very few clouds in the sky. So what does the weekend have in store for us, Case? Let's send it over to Billy V.
Thank you very much. Happy Aloha Friday. Let's take a look at what you can expect for the weekend as far as the weather goes. We'll concentrate on the oceans first. North and west facing shorelines, 2 to 4 foot surf, and that's on the way down. 3 to 5 foot surf on the east facing shores. A little bit rough and choppy. That is a trade wind swell. Your UV index is at 11. So if you're going to go outdoors, take the sunscreen with you. Here's your forecast model and what you can expect. Once again, the lighter arrows are the more stronger trade winds. So as we put this into motion, you can see that from this morning or here on Friday, we've got some trade winds going, and actually by the afternoon we've got good steady trade winds. But as we get into Sunday, those trade winds are gone. We've got a system up to the north that's kind of blocking the trade wind fan. And as we get into Monday, no winds as well. Tuesday, we start to get things back to normal. And by Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you can see that we do have the trade winds. So partly cloudy skies, a few windward and Mauka showers. The easterly winds are going to be 15 to 25 miles per hour. Daytime high is going to be near 85 degrees. And once again, here on the 7-day forecast, you can see Sunday and Monday. That's when we'll have showers. That'll be mostly for Hawaii Island and Maui. So enjoy the weekend. We'll see you on Monday on Sunrise. And as always, get the latest on air online on your mobile device and at hawaiinewsnow.com.
Well, it's been almost exactly 5 months to the day since the eruption of December 20th, 2020 at the Kilauea volcano. The Halemaumau crater became active again right before Christmas. And to get an update on what's happening there, I want to bring on scientist Philip Ong, who's been tracking everything that has to do with that volcano as well as Mauna Loa. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's go back to Kilauea though. Philip, I just want you to give us an idea if we're still technically seeing an eruption.
Aloha, Casey. Well, if there's lava at the surface, then an eruption can be considered to be ongoing. So we are still seeing that a little bit, but it may not be because lava is coming into the crater, but rather the gases are bubbling out still and spitting out some of the lava. So there's some reason for debate whether lava is still going in or not, and the eruption officially is not over, but it may be entering a pause at some point soon. This is a time lapse from the USGS F1 thermal camera, and it's showing the whole 5-month history of the lava lake. And you saw that the lava lake was all the way liquid at first, across the whole crater, but it's really crested over pretty quick in the last 5 months. You can see that the cresting began at this back eastern half right over here, and it's worked its way around this former island towards the west vent, which is down here at the bottom of the image. And it's really accelerated over the last month to the point where now there's only a small open surface of lava.
I also want to talk about what's happening down the way a little bit in Leilani Estates at Fisher 8.
Well, Fisher 8, more recently renamed Ahu'aila'au, has been quiet ever since 2018. It's interesting you bring that up, though, because the 2018 eruption is a good analog for what might happen at the end of this eruption. Even though lava stopped coming out in the beginning of August at Ahu'aila'au, there was a 1-month period of adjustment before lava resurfaced again in the beginning of September. So it's not uncommon to see a reactivation or rejuvenation of these eruptions after a little break, and that's why the USGS is calling this a pause.
And before I let you go, I know you and Dane DuPont have been doing amazing work keeping the public informed through Hawaii Tracker, your Facebook group. What are you guys doing to continue your work?
Yeah, we are trying to give weekly updates on each volcano, both Kilauea and Mauna Loa, so that our communities can be prepared for any future activity, especially if it comes into populated areas. And so we're really trying to keep the conversation going and maintain the trust between our official response and the science that's happening here on Kilauea.
Philip, thank you so much for spending a little time with us. Aloha, my friend.
Mahalo, Casey. Aloha.
Oh, Ash, I love my Volcano stuff. I'm wearing my HV&P Ren Spooner today, 5-month anniversary. That was a wild weekend when it went off back in December.
How about some good news, Case?
Yeah.
So it's been 3 years since Navy officer Brian Buggy died during a diving accident at Kewalo Basin. He was an organ donor, and yesterday his widow met the person who received his gift of life. Jim Mendoza has the emotional story.
On May 20th, 2018, Brian Buggy, a Navy officer, husband, father, and avid scuba diver, died during a tragic accident at Kewalo Basin. Ashley is his widow.
I want to still talk about Brian. I still want to talk about the man that he was and what he contributed to this world and how much the world is at a loss because he's not here anymore.
On the anniversary of Brian's passing, Ashley visits his Living Reef memorial that holds his ashes. She says that's where she feels closest to him.
It's very near the place where he took his last breath, and it's a place that he and I learned to dive. It's where we very first dove together. So it's a very, very special place.
Brian was an organ donor. The year he died, Alyssa Evans, a marathon runner and a single mom, suffered a serious knee injury. Brian's tissue donation enabled her to run again.
We'll never take for granted what he gave to me.
Through Legacy of Life Hawaii, the women were introduced through letters.
To have a tangible representation of my husband now in my hands, meaning that he had gone on to help somebody else, was just unreal.
Alyssa finally learned about her donor.
I found out then that he climbed mountains and he ran and he was a scuba diver and he was an avid, adventurous person, and it just, both of our worlds collided.
Today, the women met for the first time face to face with a hug that could have lasted forever.
It's been 3 years today, and I still get so emotional thinking about him.
Alyssa wanted to do something special for Ashley, so she got her scuba certification so she could accompany her to Brian's memorial to say thank you.
I'm so grateful that I get to do this for her.
Ashley says her husband is gone, but because he chose to be an organ donor, in Alyssa, part of him lives on. Jim Mendoza, Hawaii News Now.
Wow, that is actually the first time I saw that story, Ash. That is, with everything going on in the world, it's just nice to know that there's so much good still out there.
Great job by Jim.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about what's got people talking on the internet right now from the feeds.
Good stories for you guys. So President Joe Biden has awarded his first Medal of Honor to a 94-year-old Army veteran. Colonel Ralph Puckett Jr. of Columbus, Georgia, was presented the medal, the nation's highest military honor, during a ceremony at the White House this afternoon. Now, in 1950, Puckett, then an Army Ranger, led a company of 51 U.S. soldiers and 9 South Korean soldiers against Chinese forces with hundreds of troops. Now, I read the whole story of what happened, and it's pretty incredible what this guy did. So South Korean President Moon Jae-in, she was also in Washington for the summit with Biden and also attended the ceremony.
I saw a little bit of that on Today's Show. Amazing what that guy went through. Yeah. All right, one other one before we go. This is interesting. Next time you swipe right, you can see if your future match is also vaccinated. The Biden administration announced it's teaming up with some of the biggest dating apps to encourage vaccination. That includes Tinder, OkCupid, and Hinge. The new feature being launched will include a badge that will show users' vaccination status as well as access to premium content for vaccinated people. Also, some will be offering filters so you can see those who have been vaccinated, links to help people find out where to get shots.
Yeah, dating in the days of COVID. People probably want to know that.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I'm sure we'll get some comments on that on Facebook. And for that, we'll send it to, we've got much more news coming up, 4, 5, and 6.
Happy Aloha Friday.